absolutely correct. Indeed, he's not the first person who has said it. We have said it in the money many times in the past. We've said, from first principles, do we need COCOBOD? Why was COCOBOD created? When it was created, the idea was COCOBOD will be a help to farmers by doing things for them that they couldn't do for themselves, because the idea was that they were not organized. So it was mobilizing help to farmers. And the way to deal with that was, okay, mobilize the cocoa, sell it, take a bit of it, and for instance, do mass spraying, do all those things. That was the original idea. And from when independence and we set it up and we were working, it was good. It helped farmers and it helped the country. It mobilized for the country. Because you had some people who were thinking about farmers and thinking about bettering their lot. An important point about Nana, who just spoke, that man you just saw is the potential future of the cocoa industry. If we abolish COCOBOD, we have said over the years, you can check, that as we speak, and from an Imani point of view, per analysis, from a first principles point of view, COCOBOD is a net negative to this country. Yes. If COCOBOD did not exist, the gentleman who just spoke and people like him can organize better, export their cocoa, make better prices. Today, even today, with the promises from the politicians, they are promising to pay them 70%. That's a 30% tax. We have said also in the past, fortunately I have Prof. Bopin here, he's a fellow and he will do the economic numbers. We have said in the past that cocoa farmers in this country are amongst the most taxed. How do you tax poor people to that extent? And for what? It is Prof. Bopin who said that the COCOBOD has more V8s than cocoa beans. And he's right. And I'm saying, look, as we speak, you have that huge behemoth, that huge organization. It is just making people rich and farmers poor. And today, as we speak, COCOBOD is a net negative to the average farmer and a net negative to this economy. Look at the debt hanging on them. Who do you think is going to pay that? That is impacting our city. All of us are paying for that. When you start doing the analysis, you realize that we've treated COCOBOD like we've treated every other, state entity. Good ideas, and then you put people there, and it simply makes people rich and makes the country poor. COCOBOD is in the same league as other entities like Tamale Refinery. Same story. Great ideas should have been, a positive on our economy. It starts just leaking off the economy, and then individuals are getting rich. Busts.
But would that mean we should scrap COCOBOD completely?
Yes. I'm telling you.
If it's inefficiency in management, why don't we fix that?
You think we haven't tried fixing it? We've been saying these things, and people think we are talking ideology. All right? The problem is government. You have people there are too many people wearing suits sitting in COCOBOD who don't listen to Nana. The gentleman just spoke. Did you get the intelligence and the knowledge of the cocoa industry? How many people in COCOBOD understand it like he does? And why does anybody think that those guys sitting in COCOBOD wearing suits can do a better job than Nana? So why should Nana be paying them? And this idea that people are revulsed by, nobody owes anybody a living. When a cocoa farmer is struggling in the farm, and you come and say, I am going to help run your life, and I'm going to make it better, and you end up taking 30% of his money. And by the way, please, it is extremely disingenuous to use the exchange rate at any point in time.
Why so?
Let me tell you, when the currency of a country strengthens, the potential economic benefit is far higher than the downside. People tell you the theories about export, whatever it is. We have had damaged currency and our export hasn't increased. But if it strengthens, everything gets better. The simple thing, and I'll leave it to the economists, the simple thing is this. If you promise farmers 6,000, you can pay them 6,000 in CDs and you take the hit.
Government should take the hit.
Absolutely, why not? You're taxing them 30%. And who should take the hit, you or them? Who is doing the work? So they should stop this argument about it's the exchange rate. The simple question is, who should take the hit? If you say 6,000, pay 6,000. Because you see, if the other thing happens, they are not going to flip it. Okay, so look, dealing with the broad issues, I'm saying, look, COCOBOD at a point was a positive. It was a vehicle that added to what we had. If you spend 10 CDs on COCOBOD, COCOBOD will deliver 100 CDs to you. because it helped us. In fact, the building of the University of Ghana, if you know the history of it, okay, they came up with this simple idea. Let's take a bit of money from each cocoa bag. They took it in a targeted way. That's why we have that institution there.
That's why we have a Kwafo Hall.
That's why it's named Kwafo Hall. Okay? The cocoa scholarships. He said, okay, these people, let's organize something and help their kids to grow. People sitting in Accra who can't tell the difference between a cocoa
tree and
are the ones. I am making a simple point, and the simple point I'm making is from first principles. It does not make sense to take the money of poor, hard-working farmers and give it to Accra-based suit-wearing people sitting in air conditions. Look at the number of people working in COCOBOD. And for these people not to be helping the farmers, but essentially leeching off them, sapping them, and sucking them dry. If we collapse COCOBOD today, Ghana's economy will be better and farmers will be better. They can organize themselves.
But how would farmers be better, and how would the poor farmer in Seshioso organize better, export the cocoa beans from Ghana? How would he do it?
This idea of poor farmer from Seshioso, which is true in a certain sense, is very wrong in another sense. Listen, before COCOBOD, before we established an organized system for buying and selling cocoa, farmers were selling and exporting cocoa. And indeed, the middle class in Ghana, the park grants, were either traders or cocoa farmers. It was cocoa that was making people rich. Go to your village now. When you see an old, well-built building, it used to belong to a cocoa farmer.
Yeah, that's true.
We have moved cocoa farmers when they were on their own from being the middle class and the upper middle class persons in this country who were feeding the gentlemen in Accra and made them poor. So this poor farmer, cocoa farmer from, you just saw a cocoa farmer. And you saw the intelligence coming out of that gentleman. On Zoom.
Cocoa farmer
On Zoom. Okay. And so we have these concepts. And this is what leads to a situation where so somebody must organize and help them. And then you go and bring people who have no idea what cocoa farming is about. And then the next thing, they buy a series of V8s, they sit inside, and then that cocoa farmer has to fund their life, which has no bearing on them. Listen, we have therefore conceptualized this whole thing wrong.
Okay.
All right? And I'm saying from first principles, if the existence of COCOBOD does not add to the cocoa industry, if indeed it is a net negative to the average farmer and a net negative to the economy of Ghana, from first principles, scrap it and let's start something afresh.
Very well.
It is possible that cocoa or COCOBOD can organize to make cocoa better, but today they are not doing so. And I don't see a reason why you can't call Nana and a couple, and I've met a couple of them. A lot of chiefs, very educated, they're involved in cocoa farming. We have a situation today, let me tell you for a fact, the analysis shows that in the next 30 years, if we don't stop Galamsey, cocoa farming cannot compete against Galamsey. The economics is just not there. So we will lose our cocoa farms to Galamsey. So we really need to sit up and decide what we're going to do about cocoa industry. And COCOBOD is the problem, not the solution.
Thank you. I'll bring Prof in, and Prof, I would refer you to an article